10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Back to Basics.
Today is going to be a great option for those of you who have not yet invested in a PTZOptics camera or who are ready to purchase your second, third, fourth, however many more cameras.
Yeah, we're going to go over the questions that you should be considering when you're thinking about integrating PTZ cameras into your lecture capture distance learning room, your video conferencing space, your live streaming studio, or you're just getting cameras to set up for portable use to set up a live stream anywhere in your local area. So we're going to talk about the camera control options. So what are the options to control the cameras that you should be considering? There's a lot of different options and a lot of different reasons why you might go one way or the other. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about your mounting options. Here you can see a ceiling mount, and you might have saw that at the start of our show. We had a really cool ceiling camera there. But there's actually that is that camera right there. But there's also wall mounting options. You can, of course, tripod the cameras. You can pole mount them, and we'll go over a lot of those options as well. Finally, we're going to go over all the basic questions that you should consider before choosing a PTZ camera. So we're going to get into it.
Should we get into it?
I think we should. All right. So I have this little presentation here, questions to consider. If you're ready to buy, like Tess was here.
Just my daily shopping. Woohoo! Just picked up some PTZ cams at B&H, you know.
Oh, that's hilarious. And by the way, this is live. So if you have questions, Tessa is monitoring the chat and she'll display them on the screen and I will answer them, or Tess will answer them. But the first thing is camera placement. You can see we've got a Z cam here on a little side mount, wall mount.
Just like we have.
We've got one right here. Actually, Tessa's got one. Her close-up cam is now a really cool side shot. And that's on that type of mount. And then there's the always popular ceiling mount. You saw that right here. We love this shot. Now, this is kind of an odd angle. Normally, we're shooting downward, annotating on top of a document, for example. But, hey, it works and it shows off different capabilities. Wall mounts, obviously, that's probably the most popular out there. Very easy to use and install. And then the pole mount. So where is the camera going to go? Usually, the beauty of PTZ cameras is the fact that you can install them hundreds of feet away from where your video source is and then control them remotely. So that's kind of the beauty. That's kind of the first thing. It's like, where is this thing going to go, right?
That will certainly drive what type of camera you might want to purchase.
And then the thought of, just going back here, ceiling, wall, or pole is one of those thoughts that the pole specifically, these things can go almost anywhere. So if you have huge vaulted ceilings and there's 50-foot ceilings, you can drop a pole down 20 feet and have it get a really nice angle. So camera angles and camera placement is generally the first thing. And look at that. There's a PTZOptics camera on a wall mount that's upside down. I saw that comment. Thanks, Gene.
Notice a single wire. Talk about that option shortly.
Actually, yeah, let's mention that really quickly here. I'm going to pop over here. So this camera right here, as you can see, just has one cable. So that is one single Ethernet cable for the NewTek NDI. And this cable is going to provide power, video, and control. So just some of the new stuff that we're seeing out there today, something to think about. Ethernet, obviously a great option, specifically for powering your camera. So mounting is one of the first things. The next thing is, with camera placement specifically, is how far is this camera from your source? And that may determine the cabling that you use.
Absolutely. That'll also determine what optical zoom camera that you're going to need as well.
Yes, and that has become such a popular question for us that we've put it on our website. There's a calculator. And we'll look at the calculator in a moment, but let's start with first the difference between USB and SDI. And this question actually comes up quite a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you to our homepage. And PTZOptics.com what the first thing you'll see as we scroll down is, oh, went to the joystick, sorry. The first thing you'll see is the difference between SDI, USB, and NDI. And this is where I kind of want to just start here to make sure this is very clear. SDI models are most affordable options. They can run cabling hundreds of feet. You can run 100, 200, 300 feet with SDI cabling. USB models, awesome for plug and play. Plug it right into your computer, but the USB 3.0 cabling that's included usually is only maxes out at about 9 feet, roughly. I mean, it might even be less.
There are some extension options, of course, when it comes to USB, but typically.
Yeah, you're right. There are USB extension options. So we could use that. And then NDI, and there's also SDI extensions. There's also HDMI extensions. So there are some things that you can do to extend.
So even SDI has a cap?
SDI has a cap, yes.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember what it is. If you know in the chat, let us know. But I'm thinking it's like it's similar to Cat 5, which is 320 something feet, which would be the max for NDI models. So NewTek NDI is a new low latency camera extension that allows you to, or protocol, sorry, that allows you to extend the camera up to 300 feet away from your Ethernet switch, provide power over Ethernet. You can get video and control, like we mentioned. The difference between the SDI models and the NDI models is just the NDI functionality. Both support PoE, power over Ethernet. The USB models do not support PoE, and that is because they are generally very close to the source of the USB 3.0 connection.
Yeah, to elaborate on that, all of our NDI HX pre-installed cameras do come with the SDI, I don't know what to call, port? Connector. Yeah. So you could kind of have old trusty with SDI or that new versatile NDI HX function.
So that should help with your considerations, because if the camera is going to be hundreds of feet away, you're looking at either SDI, NDI, or both. But if it's going to be close and you just want to plug it right into your computer, USB may be the option for you. Any plans for Ultra HD? That would be 4K, and that would be 12G SDI.
What's up, Michael? Mitchell, excuse me.
Hi, Mitchell. Thank you for joining. Yes, there are some plans. It's a little farther out than I'd like. We're looking pretty far out, still, 6 to 9 months. There are some people who say that you can't tell the difference between 1080p and 4K. I'm not going to get into that argument right now, but 1080p is still what 90-something% of all the televisions and monitors are. Streaming is still way more doable for the majority of people out there today in 1080p. So I do want to get to 4K. There's a lot of great stuff that you can do there, but we have not quite gotten there, and there's no immediate plans to be there for PTZOptics. Now, for camera connectivity, how are you going to connect? And I don't know if we can.
We almost got ahead of ourselves there. We kind of dipped our toes into the options, but with the PTZOptics cameras, there are 3 options for connectivity: SDI. Oh no, well, 4 if you include HDMI, USB, as well as NDI HX.
Do you want to circle those for us, Tess?
Oh.
Let's see if it works.
So here's where you're going to get your NDI HX. Oh, it's an arrow function. Here is our HDMI connector. This is the SDI connector. And here's your USB 3.0 connector.
Got it.
Yeah, 2.0.
All right.
Does the 2.0 even do anything?
We didn't set up the telestrator earlier today, so I think it's not going, but that's not a big deal. All right.
Whoops.
So, but you guys can see
They were good
very
arrows.
similar. The only difference is the SDI and the USB. Now, when we're looking at USB 3.0, it is backwards compatible with 2.0, but there is a bandwidth limit. So you need to think about how much bandwidth you're going to have on your computer with USB bus. So a lot of times we're talking about uncompressed video, but we also can talk about compressed video, and that's kind of the theme up here. USB 3.0 has the ability to do uncompressed 1080p 60 frames per second, and that is uncompressed.
Chris, we don't at this time have a USB PTZOptics camera that has the NDI HX functionality.
Yes, but I do believe that you can upgrade the cameras still.
You can? The USB cameras?
Yeah, I don't think we have a USB model that ships with NDI, but maybe our support needs to chime in on that. But I'm pretty sure you can upgrade any Gen 2 model.
I always thought it was any Gen 2 SDI model.
I think that they changed that and made it available. Okay. I'm pretty sure.
You know better than I do.
Can you repeat the PoE concept if you have time? Yes, really quickly. Power over Ethernet. You can plug one PTZOptics camera into a network switch that has power over Ethernet capabilities. It's less than 20 watts. I can't remember exactly what the wattage is, but I think it's like less than 10 watts. But it powers the entire camera and gives you IP connectivity to control the camera over the network. Now with HDMI and SDI, very similar here, we're getting uncompressed 1080p up to 60 frames per second video. Uncompressed video is higher quality than compressed video. Ethernet and NDI gives us the ability to have compressed video coming over a 1 gigabit network connection. NDI can actually go all the way down to sub 10 megabit streams. That's using H.264 compression. And then the Ethernet, which has always had RTSP, RTMP, those are streaming protocols where you can stream video as well. So streaming video, the main thing here, there's two or three main things. USB, short cable run, plugs into your computer, can't go far. HDMI can go up to 50 feet, roughly. I've heard of 100-foot HDMI cables, but I've also seen a lot of them break. SDI can go hundreds of feet, very strong. And then Ethernet and NDI, that requires a network switch. That is bandwidth on your local area network. If you're not an IT guy, you might not want to go down that route.
At least not to start. That you might want to start off with.
Or if you are
SDI
starting, you might want to go off of your corporate network and set up a dedicated network to learn about. Massimo is saying, do you think 30 megabit upload speeds are enough to do 3 1080p signals to YouTube? Definitely. We only have about 25 and we do 3 1080p's. You're going to have a more difficult time with the processing required on a single computer than you will with that upload speed. There is an example of the USB 3.0 model. That's exactly what it's made for. There's a little Intel NUC that you can see there behind the TV.
Yeah, it's a great scenario for video conferencing space or any type of meeting space.
Even small, I've done streaming with the USB cameras too. They just can't go far from your computer.
Yeah.
Here's one that we set up at a local theater. You guys might have caught this Back to Basics episode.
This is a good example of us using our NDI-HX camera, but we didn't have access or knowledge of the switch that we were running off of at this location. So we were able to use the backup function of SDI.
Yeah, I think I remember with this one, we were doing test recordings with the SDI, but we still had the NDI for the Ethernet and power as well.
Oh yeah, did you bring your own network switch?
I think we did, just for Wi-Fi control, which we'll talk a little bit about in a moment. And then here's another one here. Here is complete NDI. This is a camera at a town hall meeting.
Oh yeah, somebody shared this with us in the user group.
Yeah, I saw this. I can't remember who shared this.
Please claim your photo if you're watching.
But they did all NDI. And then here's one where we're looking at, this was at NAB. And we did SDI and Ethernet. And that's my favorite kind of combo, SDI and Ethernet. So Daniel's asking, what is the quality like between SDI and USB 3? SDI has a better rep, but technically they should be very close. The reason why is that USB 3, it should have the same uncompressed specs, but computers, processing power, USB buses, a lot of times you might have 4 USB 3.0 ports on your computer, but they share a single bus, a single chipset. And so they're not assuming that you're going to have 4 1080p 60, 100 or 1000 megabit, compressions coming off of that video stream. So USB 3, if used right, can be just as good as SDI, but a lot of times people have issues with managing the USB processing speed on their computer, whereas with SDI, it plugs right into a dedicated hardware PCIe card directly attached to your motherboard, or a hardware-based switcher that's just pumping silicon that's uncompressed, and so it generally has a better feed and rep in general. So the next thought is, what are you connecting your camera to? Is it a Wirecast gear? Is it a vMix computer? Is it a PTZOptics producer kit? That is something that you might want to think about. Is it a Mac? Is it a PC?
Absolutely. That's going to change the game for some other options that you might be looking into as well. So what type of computer are you using, and is it capable of handling live streaming?
Yeah, so quickly, obviously, we always suggest an i7 processor. Our PTZOptics producer kit over here has a Intel NUC i7 with the 7th generation Intel processors. The 8th gen are just rolling out soon. And it has 32 gigabytes of RAM, solid state hard drive, things that you want to consider. Obviously, running everything on a solid state hard drive speeds everything up. Connecting with high quality connectors, whether it be Thunderbolt or a PCIe card. Thunderbolt and PCIe are directly connected to your motherboard. So when we're running multiple cameras, here's an example here of 4 SDI cameras connecting in via one Thunderbolt port to a computer.
That is part of our Producer Plus kit, if you're interested in that product.
Yeah, that was that video that you made, Tess.
Well, Michael made it.
Well,
I starred in it.
That's the video that you starred in. Gene is saying, was wondering if we can control and stream data via NDI to our switch while recording through the SDI to an Atomos for uncompressed. Yeah, that is a great scenario and reason why we kept the SDI connectors on the NDI models. So you can control the cameras, monitor the cameras. You can have multicast running on the NDI cameras, which we won't get into, but allows you to view the cameras on as many devices on your local area network as you want without adding additional bandwidth. But yeah, that's a great opportunity. SDI, uncompressed video versus compressed video, it has to do with the color space. So if you have crescendos of lights and smoke and layers of detail, you might lose a little bit of that when things are compressed. Recording to uncompressed video for highly professional video streams is something that a lot of people do for good reason. So camera control, we have a little joystick here. Maybe I'll grab one over here.
Yeah, you might be surprised at the amount of options that you actually do have at your disposal when it comes to controlling your PTZOptics cameras.
Woo, here's the IP joystick. I think the rumor's out. A Gen 3 of this is coming very soon. It's going to be awesome. I've seen it. I'm not going to say anything about it because I'll get in trouble, but people love these. This is an IP joystick. You can control cameras just over Ethernet. Hundreds of cameras, hundreds of ways to control them. The other really popular one is the iOS app.
Yeah, if you are, well, we actually have one for Android as well now. So iOS users and Android users can download a PTZ control app right to your cell phone or iPad.
So everyone loves that. That's now, as you said, available for Android. There is an Amazon Fire tablets that's less than $100. Gives you a 7-inch touchscreen to control up to 8 cameras. There is a serial joystick from HuddleCam that people really love. That's only $299.
Yeah, that's a great option.
And then software for PTZ control has actually been integrated into some of the industry's most popular live streaming solutions, such as vMix, Wirecast, OBS, TriCaster, Mimo Live. And I'm not
Hopefully
sure.
More to come soon.
Yeah. Oh, look, Tess, that was us.
That's another fun option.
Ago.
I mean, you will be surprised at the fun ways people have thought up how to control your cameras. This is vMix with an Xbox controller. Same can be done with RocoSoft.
That's really cool. I'd like to add that into our PTZ
And of course,
app.
we have our very own Mac and PC PTZ control apps.
Yes.
So computer-based control apps. The options are pretty much quite a few.
You've got a lot of options there. And then, of course, the IR remote right there in the middle.
Old trusty.
Every camera.
You don't want to show up on a streaming event without that remote because you'll find yourself wishing you had it.
Yeah, always bring that and a couple spare batteries that we do ship with the camera in every box. Here's us with the Gadget Professor and Live View. That was a fun little event. There's our smartphone app at a church there. There's the Mac PTZ app. And then just a couple of things to consider when choosing a model. Wrapping this up, we're going to have a post-show in a moment here to answer any of your questions. Are you doing video conferencing? Are you doing video recording? Or are you doing video streaming? Take a look at our options here. They have a lot of features. People really love them. And Join our user group to learn more. But thank you for watching.
Exit out now.
Download a guide
The link
at
is wrong.
nowhere. And maybe try our website. I think there's a couple guides there.
Oh my goodness. Basically, we want you to head to PTZOptics.com for more information on the cameras that we discussed in today's presentation.
We kind of forgot to mention our humongous giveaway, which is a church makeover giveaway. If you are part of a church or know someone that is, you can go to PTZOptics.com/church-makeover. And that is where we're having a huge makeover, a giveaway where we're going to be giving away multiple cameras, streaming boxes, a PTZ Optics producer kit, and more to one lucky church in the United States. Stay tuned, guys. All this and more coming up next in a cool post show.
Yeah.
When you stand up so high,